So hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today and welcome to today's webinar, 5 Reasons You Should Move to the Cloud-Hosted ERP. I'm really excited about this topic, and for those of you that do not know me yet, I'm Katie Geyer, Customer Success Manager here at BrainCell, and joining me today is the Chief Technology Officer at SWK Technologies, BJ O'Reilly. BJ, thank you so much for taking the time to share your expertise with us. And I'd like to, yeah, it's exciting. So I'd like to just start with a couple housekeeping items. If you have any questions, please drop them in that little question box during the event, and we'll be monitoring that and answer those at the final Q&A. So this is being recorded, and the recording will be sent out tomorrow morning to all registrants. So please feel free to pass this along to any colleagues who weren't able to join us today. So let's hop into it. And here is a quick agenda for everyone, things that we'll be discussing today. What is cloud hosting? What are the benefits? Where cybersecurity comes into play? The easy process of hosting your Sage 100 or 300 instance. And BJ is going to come in, talk about a customer success story to kind of tie everything together, and then we'll wrap it up with, again, that final Q&A. BJ, we hear a lot about this term cloud hosting, but most of us don't really know what it means. So I wanted to just kick this off with you just explaining to us what is cloud hosting.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you, everyone, for your time today. It's a privilege to be here, and so I want to take you through what is cloud hosting. So a lot of times, this is a very common question we get asked all the time in the technology world is, what is cloud hosting and what does it mean for me? One of the things I think we did from the perspective of the organization is really come back and look at it from an ERP perspective. So we've got this ERP application, Sage 100, Sage 300. And what does that mean? So now I'm going to be in the cloud. So what that means is you're in a secure data center, not somebody's garage. I'll do a misnomer. It's not in Katie or BJ's garage. It is in a secure data center. We like to call it a SAS 16 data center, which means it's secured by a set of principles. We like to think of that data center itself as having multiple abilities to be redundant. So our data center has generated power. It has redundant internet connections, so no one point of failure. We do own all of our own equipment, so the equipment itself from the data center perspective for BrainCell and for SWK is all owned by us, so we manage and govern it. And what we really looked to do when we started out on this cloud hosting, especially with Sage 100, 300, is to design it and optimize it for you, right? So that we could support your application in its entirety. So I get asked this quite a bit. What is the difference between you and Azure and maybe Amazon Web Services? So a few key differences. One, we optimized our environment to run Sage 100 and 300. That's all we pretty much do. The vast array of our clients are in that demographic. We don't host any other big applications. We stay within that confine. So, we optimize things like, drive space, drive speed technology, because it's very input-output concentric with 100 and 300. So we did all of these things to really make the environment centered around these Sage applications. And in doing so, that allowed us to really make the environment much more optimized than you would see in a generic IT environment, either on-premise, either in Azure or in Amazon, and the fact that those three environments, they're designed to house a multitude of applications. We're designed really to do one. So it makes a big difference on our side. And one of the things that happens in that hosting provider's world, right, is this idea of designing things out and making it much more structured and delivering that. And one of the things we did early on when we started hosting was this concept of cybersecurity. Right. So most of us in the ERP world, we work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. That's our normal job. I'm not having to post an invoice at 2 in the morning unless I have insomnia. Right. So we needed to have somebody who would watch all of the things going on in the environment. So we started out, we would do some management of the network. We'd watch things, make sure things didn't look unusual. But I started really seeing more and more of this rise of cyber intrusion, or as we like to call them, bad actors. And these bad actors started trying to get into things, but they don't work 8 to 5. They work after you go home, or on the weekend when you're not doing anything at all is when they're trying to intrude into your system. And so we set out to really define this idea of cybersecurity early on in our hosting environment. And in doing so, we watch 24/7. So our security operations center, it's manned by people who look for environmental changes. They might look for something unusually installed. There's all these factors that go on related to that cybersecurity. I'm going to get more in depth on that in a little bit more in the presentation. So, look for that as well. The other thing I think, when we were in this world of idea of COVID, right, it really started to expand this, and we saw this growth greatly for all of us during the work from anywhere time, right? I need to work from home. I can't be at work. I can't get my job done, right? So Katie, what I thought would be really good is like, well, we had this paradigm of hosting going. What if we really expand that to make it much more usable at home? But you could also use it anywhere, right? So I could be at Starbucks having a latte and work from there. I can be on the beach with internet from my hotel drinking my Dos Equis, right? So I'm having a beer and doing accounting. Probably might have an AP misposting, but hey, it got done. And so with all those things, we could work within those environments in a very small internet footprint and work from anywhere. And I thought that provided the speed performance of people to be able to do that, and we've continued that on, right? So that's a really good reason for cloud hosting. So, hey, my server goes down once a week, or my internet's out at the office, right? I need to run home and work. You can do that, right? So even if you're on
I hear it all the time.
our internet, all of those things. And so, I can go down to Starbucks and work from there. So all of those things I think are part of what you want in cloud hosting, right? And I think the big thing is you need it to be easy. So we're all in the accounting world. We have a job to do. We have to close books. We want it to be easy. We didn't want this to be difficult. So we selected products that made it easy, made it quick, but also made things like printing easier, right? And all of these things we could do. So if I had to print at, my hotel office, which I had to do a few weeks ago, right, it was easy. I didn't have to go do anything different. I just went and hit print inside of my Sage hosting, and out came my report onto the printer at the hotel. So all of those things are things that we do that make cloud hosting easier. We also make it much more easily explained. So those are the big events, I think, with what is cloud hosting, right? That gives you a firm explanation of why we sought out to do it and a little bit of how we do it. So.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, BJ. That helps to paint a picture, I think, for everyone here. And I just like how simplified it is, for helping us to understand, what is cloud hosting. So now I wanted to just talk about some of my favorite piece, I guess, of cloud hosting, and some you've already highlighted here are the benefits. And first is the scalability. Companies can scale their resources up or down, and hosting can work alongside that. BJ, I know that you wanted to kind of talk maybe a little bit more about that point, and some of your experiences in that benefit.
Well, and I think one of the things that you see as a true benefit in that side on scalability, right? So I bought a server 2 years ago, and my business acquired another business, and now I no longer have 5 users of Sage 100. I have 25 users of Sage 100, right? And I got to go buy a whole new server, whole new technology to do that. And that's where scalability really plays in, right? Our ability to go up and down, right? So during COVID, we had a lot of clients that had to decrease their user counts. We can do that. We can go up and down very quickly without a lot of changes, right? So, oh, well, I now need, more processing power. No problem. Quick reboot, more processing. I need more drive space. Quick reboot, more drive space, right? So that makes it easier not having to go out, oh my gosh, my drives are filled. I need to go buy new drives, or I don't have room for those. Now I got to buy a new server. So that's where I think scalability and hosting is really the big advantage. And it's a fixed, per month, fixed per annual fee, right? So it's easy, and you add those users. So that's
Yes.
my idea where scalability really
Yeah,
comes.
no, that's a great explanation. And it kind of goes into these other reliability, right? So SWK is taking over all of that, right? The redundant systems to ensure that you have availability and uptime without interruption, right? And then you go right into cost savings. You just eliminate the cost of that server and maybe an IT cost, right, of helping to maintain. You have the flexibility again that we talked about, those remote workers. You can work from anywhere and easily access your application and the data. So those are just some other great features. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth because this is a big hot topic right now, security. We all know that our data is the utmost importance, and cloud hosting providers implement that robust security measures to protect the data from unauthorized access, what BJ talked about, theft and data breaches. They will perform those regular backups and disaster recovery to ensure that data is safe. So these are just top 5 benefits of cloud hosting, which are all incredibly important. But again, let's dive in a little bit deeper into the security piece because I think that's one of the most important things for any business. So I'm going to pass it off to BJ here to talk
Right.
about cybersecurity.
Thank you, Katie.
Yeah.
I think the bigger thing inside the world of cybersecurity. So we did a presentation last year called the first 24 hours, right? If anybody watched that show, 24 hours, remember it's talking about what happens in that first 24 hours. And we kind of mimic that because your first 24 hours in the world of a cyber intrusion are the most critical for you. It's also the most stressing and the most time consuming you could have. When we talk about cybersecurity attacks, they're happening every 39 seconds. So we get no less than 8 to 10,000 attacks per day on our data centers. So, right, so you're like, wow, but our job is to fight those intrusions, right? They're trying everything to try to get in. So, and but the bigger part has been in that first 24 hours is what do you do? And a lot of our clients, and I'm going to speak to this, knock on wood, we have not had a cyber intrusion into our data centers since they were, initiated back in 2010. So we've been around a long time, and we have not had an intrusion. We've not had a ransomware attack, so we've done a really good job to really prevent that and keep that from happening. And so, in this cybersecurity world, or as like I said earlier, I like to call them bad actors. Here's one of the things we thought about conceptually is like, okay, so we started ordering from Amazon, Walmart, all of those places.
Right.
Then this little company called Ring came into being, right? So their claim to fame was, a doorbell with a camera in it, so that you could make sure your packages were safe, right? So we started kind of alluding the fact that those criminals, were very similar to cyber criminals, right? They're trying to gain access to something you own or have or you've bought, right? So, once they get in there, they don't care who you are. They just care about getting that. So even though I might be taking a package off the doorstep of a little lady that's 84 years old, they don't care, right? They're not seeing that. And the same thing, your door is shielding you, and they don't see you. They just see that potential. And then they go about ransomware. You see that, you hear that quite a bit. I mean, we had last year, over a dozen ransomware attacks on Sage 100 clients. That may not sound like a lot, but it added up to well over $2.2 million in potential ransom for these clients. And our clients they don't pay millions of dollars. They're not there for that. So one of the big things too is like this idea of internal IT teams. And so I hear this all the time is, but I have antivirus, but antivirus is not cyber protection. It prevents you against a viral attack that was designed to gain something, but it's never going to stop your business from working. You get ransomware, you're done. You stop working, right? And for all of us, 100 and 300 are our primary business applications. They drive our business. And I always ask this question: how long can you be without your Sage 100 or 300? A day, 2 hours, 5 hours, 5 days, 5 weeks. Keep in mind, in a ransomware attack, you're going to be without it for weeks. Even if you have a backup, the amount of time to clean your environment is going to take a multitude of time. And in most cases, we always recommend a client just buy completely new equipment, right? If you're going to have to just get new equipment, we can't, it takes a while to clean and disinfect a ransomware intrusion. So your IT teams are not usually equipped for that. They don't have the training. They haven't worked in that cyber intrusion world. And so, that also now puts another challenge. And so in that first 24 hours, suddenly, your business, it's cost your business tens of thousands of dollars, right? We try to do that. So we really focused on that by putting in a leading level of cyber intrusion products into our hosting environment. And when somebody asks me, why are you expensive? It's because, well, most of it's made up of those cyber intrusion products. If I didn't have to defend you against terrorists, I probably could save you a little bit of money. But we use really world-class leading cybersecurity products. We're watching it 24/7, 365, all the time, making sure that nothing's going on. And I'll share this with you because I'm very much about an open nature, and that is, we had a potential intrusion about 3 weeks ago with a client that did get ransomware, not in our data center, but got that ransomware. And our cyber intrusion, we also provide those for on-premise clients as well, caught that intrusion and saved them a lot of time. It isolated to a single desktop machine. So, so these are the kind of things that you want to have within your arsenal, not just for hosting, but even to consider it for premise. And so if you have a chance, I'll do a little reach out to Katie and the team, and we can talk about extending that beyond just our hosting environment into your on-premise environment. But cybersecurity is the number one thing we are working on day to day. Our SOC is a very busy place. So, but definitely it's a huge benefit in going to our cloud hosting because we provide all of that under your annual fee. So you don't have to go, okay, is that going to cost extra? Nope, it's all inclusive. We put it all together. So
Perfect.
Thanks, Katie.
Thank you, BJ. I appreciate you highlighting all the dangers, not to scare everyone out there, but it's nice that you have a solution that you can go to where you can kind of take that off your plate. That's not your worry. SWK is going to worry about that for you. So really appreciate you talking a little bit more in depth about that. So now I'd like to just switch it over to, how do we get hosting? We're really interested in how can we get our Sage 100 or 300 instant into the cloud. So here's some easy, quick steps. Of course, you'd call your CSM, which would be myself. We'll answer any of the questions and help to get the process started, provide you with just a quote, and that would always depend on how many users you have on your Sage, if there's any third-party products that you use, and we'd like to just understand, why are you moving to a hosting environment so that we can set you up for success. So is there anything else, BJ, that maybe you'd like to add?
No, I think for those of you out there, if you're considering an upgrade and going to make an upgrade, it's a great jumping point for you to move from your on-premise to hosting. I always say, hey, what you have on-premise is undisturbed. What you put into the cloud becomes new and it's up to date. I think it's a great stepping stone for you, and it makes it easy for you to make that migration, even though we can move you into your existing version. So if you're already sitting on a newer version or done an upgrade recently, we still move you very easily. But it's always a great stepping stone. I think for somebody making that move and doing that upgrade, it just, you don't have to worry about hardware. You don't have to worry about buying new equipment to support your upgrade.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Excellent point, BJ. So perfect. I think we can tie it up together, and you're going to share a customer success story with us, BJ. So we're looking forward to hearing about that.
I do. So one of the things that happened when we started doing hosting back in 2010, we really wanted to reach out and look at some of these larger clients that were on what I call a high growth trajectory. So right there, they're going. So this client, they have 16 locations and one main location. And they kept having internet connectivity problems and disconnected sessions, and their printers weren't working. And we'll go back to my early days where they were using dot matrix printers back in the day, right? So a lot of things that were like, oh my gosh, this is a unique experience. So but they were starting to grow. They had at the time about 10 to 12 users,
Mm-hmm.
and they said, "Hey, we're thinking about going cloud, but we don't know how to do it." So we said, "Hey, we're doing cloud. We're not doing it. We're doing it on a certain level scale." And they had at the time 2 locations. So, all right, we'll go through that. They did an upgraded into our cloud, loved it.
Mm-hmm.
We had to do a little printer fixing for dot matrix printers, but we made it work. So the client was happy.
That's
They still
great.
have their dot matrix printers. Today, they're still a hosting customer. They have 55 Sage 100 users across 16 locations.
Scalability,
Right?
BJ.
Scalability, right? Didn't have to buy any new equipment.
Love it.
Client's been with us for a long time. They've now done 4 major upgrades since they've been in our cloud, each easier. I didn't mention this, Katie, but we do provide a sandbox if the client needs
Okay.
it for a complex upgrade and they're already in our hosting and they want to do a sandbox. We actually provide a sandbox for them and that next major step. So again, an easier thing. It's like, oh, well, I have to have a new server. Do I have to pay for that? No, we provide you a sandbox for that period of time in order to get you moved. So
Another great benefit.
another great benefit. So the same thing for these guys, moving and upgrading, because keep in mind over that time, they also had operating system upgrades that we were able to facilitate through that same process. So makes it good. But they had spotty internet. Some internet was functionally not working real well at the time. And so now we operate on a very thin channel of that internet, so we're not as much causing them issues. They might see when they go to print, it might take a 20 or 30 seconds longer with the internet because it has to go down to that local printer, but their other events were pretty good. So, and then they needed the security because they are an organization where people come to work and they don't stay long. So, right, so they needed to know that people could come and go, was easy to manage. So, and they had the ability to have those remote workers. When COVID hit, they worked out of their cars, out of their vans, delivering product, right? So they didn't, even though the office locations were shut down, they still managed to deliver stuff. And I'll tell you what they do. They do concrete accessories. They're on the West Coast. They're one of the largest concrete accessory companies on the West Coast. And guess what? During COVID, buildings still happened. Concrete still got poured. And they managed to still run their business by running cellular devices out of each of those locations and able to do all that they needed to do. They don't use dot matrix printers anymore, thank goodness. But it was ease of use and maintenance. And so they feel that they've saved a massive amount of dollars in infrastructure costs that they would have had to support in a central location that, by the way, is a building they own, but not greatly located for good internet access. So they would have not been able to accomplish what they wanted from the location that they own. They would have had to sold the building and moved to somewhere just to accomplish their telecommunications issues. So we saved them doing that as well. And, and we manage everything. So they work, and they aren't 8 to 5. They do work on Saturdays. They're a 6-day-a-week business, and we still support them 6 days a week because our help desk runs Monday through Sunday, by the way, just so you all know. If you call into the help desk at 9 a.m. on a Saturday, you're going to get a response back that day. So that works well for them, provides them the benefits they need to have. And like I said, they went from 12 users to now 55, and they were able to expand that and grow that without any investment on their internal infrastructure. So great
that's
client.
a great example. Cost savings. I think you hit all the benefits, BJ. So yeah, no, thank you so much. That's a good example for all our customers out there of what a successful implementation of cloud hosting can be. So we're just going to wrap it up. We have a few questions, and as a reminder to all, please, if you have a question, just put it in the question box. But BJ, I know you get this question a lot, as do I. I thought I was in the cloud. I have Sage 100 or 300 cloud.
I know. We hear that all the time. You have to love Sage. For those of you, I've been around the Sage portfolio for 29 years, right? So I did Sage it was called Mass 90 back then, would have been a little easier, but Sage has loved to change naming conventions for things, and they added, when they made the change in their maintenance programs to a subscription-based service, they changed it to
Mm-hmm.
cloud. And it's not really a cloud hosted product. I mean, it's the same product, it's just a different type of subscribed service. So even though you think you have Sage 100 Cloud, you're not really in the cloud, nor do you have a
Mm-hmm.
cloud-based product. You just have something they just put cloud on. However, when you put it up in the brain cell hosting and brain cloud, you're going to have a cloud product at the time. It'll be that way. So, but I always say people, we deal with Sage 100 and 300 are an on-premise product that we've migrated into a cloud-based environment. It's a hybrid. So if you ever hear that, we're going to tell you it's hybrid once it's in the hosted environment, but it's not truly hosted, even though it's called cloud. So
Yeah,
big
thank
misnomer
you.
there. Yep.
Thank you for clarifying that. And that also kind of goes to the next question. Is there an annual cost? And I often get, well, we're already paying for Sage 100 Cloud, so why would I pay for hosting? So there is an annual cost. We can break it down into a monthly cost if that works better. So there is that option as well, but it is in addition to your Sage 100 or 300 subscription. Next question, BJ, you might want to kind of talk about this a little bit further. Is I use a third-party IT service. Would we still need them?
So the answer is yes. So a lot of realms, especially in small businesses, you either have an outsourced IT or you have an MSP, a managed service provider, or some kind of product. So we stop at your firewall. So when we get to your firewall of your office location or internet location, we stop. We don't provide any services to your local workstation. We'll assist with printing issues. If you have some printing issues, we definitely assist with that. It's rare, we don't see them as much, but we definitely do that. But, if you're having firewall issues, internet connectivity issues, if your, connections dropping quite a bit off and on, I would definitely make sure you check your internet connectivity to wherever you are, because we don't control that. Once it leaves and hinders our routing and firewall systems, and then we own it, we take care of it. So, and we don't have bandwidth problems. We've got 7 independent providers that provide bandwidth to our data centers, and so if any one goes down, you would never know it. You might feel a slight pause, and then it comes back, but it's never going to drop you. So, but you definitely want IT people available. You want to be able to have them to help diagnose things like a workstation issue or anything that might go on. The brain cell and SWK help desk, we'll help you troubleshoot as far as we can, but eventually we got to pass it over to your IT guy to figure out why the printer's not powering on.
Right.
we can't help you with that.
Here's another one, which I get a lot, BJ, is like, my server's working just fine. Why would I switch over to the cloud? And I think you highlighted a lot of the reasons why you would want to go to the cloud, move to the cloud throughout this whole webinar, but maybe you want to just talk to that briefly.
So I'll go back to my cybersecurity. So we had 12 clients last year have ransomware. We now have 12 clients in our hosting, by the way, right?
Okay.
So what happens with that? I mean, you've got so several factors, right? I have my own server. I bought it, 3 years ago. It's still good. It's still running. It's like my car. Even though I don't change the oil, it's still going until the day. And I say until the day it isn't, right? The day.
Exactly.
And how long can you be down? Can you be down waiting? When we were having supply chain issues, right? Servers were taking weeks, so you couldn't get them in. Parts were taking a lot longer. Sometimes replacement warranties weren't happening. COVID was around, right? All these things that weighed into it. But the biggest thing with your server is what happens if you outgrow it? What do? You got to go buy something else. Or in this case, it just completely fails for whatever reason. So I always say this: you tell me how long can you be down. If the question is I can't be down, then you have to think about that investment and what that means to you. But it's you can't completely compare us to what you pay for a server, because we provide all these add-on benefits: cybersecurity, remote management and monitoring. We do all your patching for you on your localized servers that we have. We manage everything in its entirety in our data center. None of your IT people have to manage any of it. So are you completely confident that your IT person or persons are patching your servers with the latest and greatest security patches? Because if
Mm-hmm.
they aren't, you have the potential for an intrusion.
Yep.
Mhm.
Perfect. And we have just one final question. How would we report an issue? And BJ thankfully said there's people are on call 7 days a week. We would ideally like you to come through BrainCell to let us know what the issue is so that we can kind of direct it where it needs to, but you can always reach out to SWK directly if there was an emergency type situation like that happened over a weekend. So with that, I wanted to thank everyone for all the questions, for joining us today, and a huge, huge thank you, BJ, for educating us on, what is cloud hosting, and providing us with examples of just successful stories of, current cloud hosted companies. So as a thank you for all of you joining us today, we've got a really sweet offer that I want to highlight. We're going to offer 20% off the first year of
Wow,
cloud hosting. Yes, yes.
it's a great offer.
Yeah, it's a tremendous offer because we know how important this is for companies, and we really want to make sure that you can take advantage of it. So you would connect with either myself or my fellow CSM, Katie Gravel. So to take advantage and just to get, if you have any additional questions you have, we will be following this up tomorrow to get your thoughts and to make sure, you can take advantage of this. We'll be sending the recording out tomorrow, so keep an eye out in your inbox. And if you have any kind of residual questions that come up after the webinar, or maybe you didn't get a chance to watch it right away and you look at it, please reach out to myself. BJ is a resource as well. So, let us know what questions you have so that we can answer and clarify anything that might still kind of be remaining with you. And that's it. Thank you again all for your time. BJ, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much
Thank you,
for
everyone.
helping us out.
You got it.
Have a great day all.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.